Hina witnesses her mother being dragged into the abyss, but not before her mother gives her a glass orb with 10,000 inside it and tells her to find the legendary ace with the white star. Hina searches for 5 years until one day she meets Licht, a masked perverted idiot, and his boss, Nana, who explains that all people are forced to obey orders from anyone with a higher number. Hina explains her number, 441, comes from having walked 44,100 kilometers. She meets a sergeant major with a star on his face who claims to be the ace. He attempts to molest her until she shows him the 10,000 orb, which he identifies as a ballot and tries to take it from her. As Hina has a higher number, she orders him to stop, so he tricks her into a star stake, a duel wagering their numbers, and after severely beating her he takes 440 from her, leaving her with only 1. He reveals he is not the ace as the legend of the ace is 300 years old, meaning the ace is long dead. Licht suddenly arrives and wagers his own number, -999. As they duel, the sergeant realizes such a number is impossible, unless Licht is a ballot holder with a numbered ballot to artificially raise his number back above 0. Licht reveals himself as Licht Bach, the real legendary ace, with a white star and 57-0 printed on his sword, the number of enemies he has defeated. He swears he will force the sergeant to give back Hina's 440. Centuries ago, a great war known as the Waste War raged across the planet. A group of warriors known as aces distinguished themselves with feats of superhuman strength, only to vanish once the war ended. Licht easily defeats the soldiers with his super speed, showing that his footsteps contain enough power to shatter the ground. Nana explains Licht's speed earned him the name Ace of Flashing Strikes, and that while his 57-0 is the number of his defeated enemies, his -999 is the number of women who have rejected him. Licht easily defeats the sergeant, reducing his number to 1 and giving Hina not only her stolen 440, but the rest of his number as well, raising Hina's number to 760. Licht suddenly steals Hina's 10,000 ballot, leaving her a stuffed doll in exchange. Hina is devastated at losing her memento of her mother. Nana later reveals Licht hid the ballot in the doll and only pretended to steal it in front of witnesses, since ballots are illegal, meaning the soldiers will only search for him and leave Hina alone. Hina tearfully tries to stop Licht leaving, but when he ignores her pleas she shouts that she hates him, changing his -999 to -1000. Hina is suddenly confronted by one of the soldiers who reveals he is actually a spy. He thanks her for helping him and informs his real masters that Licht has finally been located. The army ignores Hina and begins looking for Licht, believing him to have the ballot. Master Sergeant Lynn May and her subordinate, Sergeant Pelmo, are stationed in a peaceful village where Lynn spends her time volunteering, as her count goes up based on how many desperate people she helps. Based on a description of Licht, Lynn apprehends a nearby masked man, who coincidentally does happen to be Licht, but he holds onto his mask by revealing his -1000 and crying over the women who rejected him. Following terrible advice from Peel, Lynn tries to help Licht feel better with a pity date, only for Licht's typical groping behavior to actually cause Lynn's count to rise as the groping helps the desperately perverse Licht feel better. Peel suddenly points out that Licht's -1000 means he must be a ballot holder, something Lynn had not yet figured out, so she removes his mask, revealing his identity. Licht steals her sword, only to realize Lynn is also a martial artist. During their short fight she becomes so flustered by Licht's flirting he manages to escape when she closes her eyes expecting a kiss, greatly irritating her. A lieutenant named Jail, Murdoch interrogates Nana to learn Licht's whereabouts, destroying her food wagon when she tries to lie, and then in setting Hunt Licht down. Following Licht's escape, Lynn continues her volunteer work but is despondent over having lost a potential promotion. However, Licht reappears so she chases him through the village where several misunderstandings lead the villagers to think she and Licht are having a lover's quarrel, and Licht escapes again when she complains about her uniform always exposing her underwear. Hina decides she must warn Licht about Lieutenant Murdoch but cannot as they must first rebuild Nana's wagon. Licht wonders about the villagers who seem more interested in living peacefully than helping catch criminals. Lynn keeps being distracted from chasing him by the villagers' problems and Licht comes to admire her, revealing himself again so Lynn can enjoy continuing to chase him. Licht suddenly saves Lynn from being hurt when Murdoch and his soldiers attack him. Murdoch's number is revealed to be 900, along with his ballot that allows him to create iron weapons, hence his nickname Iron Jail. Licht is surprisingly overwhelmed and Murdoch reveals he keeps his real number hidden from his superiors to avoid a promotion that would put him behind a desk in an office instead of hunting criminals. His true number is 12,500, over twice Licht's number. Murdoch succeeds in taking Licht's sword but gives it back. He reveals his number represents his convictions, and that his iron weapons are strengthened by his convictions and have never been cut. He traps Licht so Licht surrenders. Murdoch accuses Licht of once being a soldier based on his fighting style. When Licht refuses to answer, Murdoch decides to torture him, but Lynn steps in and is injured. Murdoch, disgusted by Lynn's failure to punish criminals in favor of her charity work, berates her. Lynn almost apologizes until Licht stops her. He breaks free from his restraints, revealing he was always capable of breaking the Murdoch's iron. As he and Murdoch unleash their true powers, Licht demands he apologize for assuming Lynn is lazy when she constantly works harder than everyone. Their fight collapses a cliff, sending Lynn falling, and a repentant Murdoch tries to catch her, but Licht catches her first. He calls her heavy, angering her, causing his count to decrease to -1001. He then passes her to Murdoch, who lets him escape. Realizing Licht was right, Murdoch creates a play area for the village children from his iron, deciding to give Licht a 3-day head start before resuming his search, with Lynn joining him. Licht is found by Hina and Nana and learns that after his fight against Iron Jail Murdoch, all the roads have been blocked. Hina appears jealous Licht was fighting for another woman and scolds him for leaving her behind. Licht is forced to save a girl named Pelmo from falling to her death in an experimental airplane. Pelmo asks Licht and Hina to help make her dream of flight come true, even though researching flight is a crime punishable by death. Licht modifies her latest design, but worries he has only put her in danger despite Hina praising him. Hina asks what Licht's dream is, but he refuses to reveal it, instead claiming it is to see her panties. Pelmo interrupts, having finished the new airplane. Soldiers arrive and Licht is forced to destroy the airplane. The soldiers leave after being convinced the wings were broken when null sails. An abyss suddenly opens up and Pelmo reveals her count was based on her dreams coming true, but it went down each time her airplanes failed to fly, and now it has reached 0. Hina tries to save her, but the abyss fights back. Licht tries to save Hina, but when the abyss hits his sword he suffers a violent flashback. Pelmo happily enters the abyss, convinced it is not death but the door to another world, and promises to see them again one day. Licht almost passes out as numbers flash in his left eye. Licht considers leaving but decides to stay after Hina talks in her sleep asking him to stay. Lynn catches up to Licht and thanks him for saving her, but then tries to arrest him. With Lynn and Hina having met, they swap stories of how they know Licht and become mad at him. Nana arranges a cooking battle between Lynn and Hina to draw in customers, with Licht as the prize. Lynn buys vegetables while Hina traps wild beasts, showing she is intimidatingly skilled at killing dangerous animals. Lynn creates a vegetable stew while Hina creates a meat stew with a deadly aura. Licht enjoys both, but while Hina's is clearly superior, Licht is put on the spot when the crowd demands he choose a winner. He is saved from having to disappoint one of them when Murdoch arrives and berates Lynn for being distracted again. Licht threatens to run away, placing the blame on Murdoch instead of Pelmo and Lynn. After a short fight, Nana steps in and berates them both for acting like children and damaging the town square. Surprisingly, even Murdoch is overwhelmed by her forceful personality and does as she says, even joining in the festivities. The next morning, Murdoch, Lynn and Pelmo awaken, hungover, with Nana, Licht and Hina having snuck away during the night. As they chase them, they come across an injured soldier from another town which has been completely destroyed. Murdoch finds no survivors. The lake next to the town has disappeared under an enormous abyss. An injured soldier appears and claims a fire-breathing demon flew out of the abyss. Murdoch insists it must be a ballot holder with fire abilities. Lynn and Pelmo take the soldier for treatment in the next town where they find Licht, Hina and Nana. Murdoch confronts Licht, convinced he knows something. Nana angrily bans them from fighting, so instead they have a drinking contest. Murdoch drunkenly accuses Licht of being the legendary ace and demands to know why the army are looking for him. Licht provokes Murdoch into drinking even more while Nana decides to join in too. Lynn becomes tipsy after only one glass and asks Hina what her relationship with Licht is. Licht and Murdoch eventually pass out. Both Lynn and Hina try to let Licht use their laps as a pillow. The lake abyss suddenly appears, destroying part of the town, and begins emanating a strange noise. Murdoch orders the civilians evacuated while Licht recognizes the sound. He claims the sound is impossible as all such demons were defeated during the Waste War. He and Murdoch watch as the abyss opens and the demon is revealed to be a modern helicopter armed with machine guns and missiles. The helicopter attacks and Licht tells everyone to take cover, but Murdoch resists Licht taking command. Licht reveals he holds a military rank of colonel and draws the helicopter's attention while Murdoch is confused how a criminal could be a colonel. Everyone begins cheering as Licht attacks the helicopter, but the abyss stops him. Lynn reveals the military calls the abyss arms Allthing. Allthing tries to grab the helicopter while Licht attacks Allthing but is shocked by it repeatedly. Hina asks Murdoch to help but he refuses as attacking Allthing is punishable by execution and he will not let anyone break the law. However, Murdoch accidentally loses his glasses. Unable to see any laws being broken, Murdoch attacks Althing and the soldiers all coincidentally go blind as well. They create a ladder for Licht to reach the helicopter, but he is shocked after seeing inside the cockpit. The helicopter is suddenly shot down by the homicidally insane ace of pursuit Sonohara Mizuka, who possesses the number 32,000. She shoots Murdoch and begins murdering everybody, revealing she is obsessed with following the last order Licht gave her during the Waste War, to kill everybody. Sonohara reveals Licht's real name is Rihido and she wants him to revert to his former bloodthirsty personality and kill her, or she will murder a nearby child. Licht snaps and kills her men so fast their bodies simply disappear. Licht finally answers Hina and Murdoch's questions of who he is. He is the Plunderer and he dreams of claiming everything in the country for himself. Licht engages in a star stake with Sonohara, and Licht is shot in the chest several times. A red power violently erupts from Licht, increasing the count on his sword to 57,000, and he begins moving so fast Sonohara cannot see him. Nana reveals that Licht has been taken over by an evil alternate personality called Schmelman. Schmelman defeats Sonohara and her count drops to 16,000, causing Nana to suspect Sonohara had also been under the influence of an evil personality. Based on her knowledge of Licht's past, Nana explains Sonohara was actually the kindest of the aces who never killed anyone, but someone must have drugged her to fight Licht, hoping Schmelman would emerge. Hina desperately hugs him so Schmelman almost kills her, but Sonohara saves her. As Schmelman moves to kill Sonohara, she has a flashback to modern Japan when she and Licht were in high school together. Schmelman is stopped by Murdoch, who challenges him despite the bullet in his chest. As they duel, Schmelman begins to cry and claims he kills enemies so his friends won't have to. Deciding to honor this, Murdoch fights with all his power and creates an Iron Warrior which knocks Schmelman unconscious, turning him back into Licht. Murdoch passes out from his injury. Elsewhere, a general tells several children a darker, alternate version of the tortoise and the hare, and one of his soldiers reveals his name is General Schmelman Bach. As Licht recovers, his star stake with Sonohara is left unfinished, so Althing can't leave, and begins molesting the girls, except for Hina. Murdoch is summoned by Supreme Commander Alexandrov Gregorovich, his childish but doting adoptive father. Murdoch demands to know about Sonohara's soldiers who wore black uniforms. Gregorovich reveals they are the Special Services Unit, or SSU, that serves the royal family as spies, kidnappers, and assassins. Concerning Licht, Gregorovich reveals the aces were surgically altered human weapons for the Waste Wars, and Licht was the strongest member of the strongest squad. A side effect of the surgery caused the aces to stop aging, explaining Licht still being alive. Gregorovich suddenly reveals he knows Murdoch's number has dropped to 12,499 and demands to know if he knows Licht's location. Murdoch lies, and it drops to 12,498, so Gregorovich reveals he also knows that attacked Althing. Murdoch returns to finally arrest Licht, who surrenders. A nearby spy reveals they want Licht to continue plundering. Licht asks Murdoch several questions to determine if he is being blackmailed, and Murdoch keeps lying, dropping his number to 12,496 before trying to arrest Licht. Nana reveals she herself is an ace and, with an unexplained power, sends Murdoch, Hina, Peel and Lynn to modern Japan, begging them to change the past where she failed. In Japan, they see Sonohara and Licht, then known as Rihido, as teenagers in high school. After following Rihido into the school, they are confronted by a delinquent and Murdoch realizes his ballot is missing and he can no longer control iron. Captain Allen and Lieutenant Firenda explain Japan is the only country left after a global war and the school is actually a military academy. The headmaster, Major Schmelman, who begins by reading his version of the tortoise and the hare, then having Allen shoot 3 recruits who left. Rihido takes Schmelman hostage, so Schmelman teaches Rihido how to break his neck, but Rihido refuses and instead offers to die in Hina's place, ignoring Schmelman's intense killing aura. Firenda calms the situation by revealing the recruits are alive as Allen had used paint bullets to make a point about obeying orders. Schmelman takes an interest in Rihido's potential while Murdoch is confused that Rihido is clearly a young Licht, yet looks nothing like his future self at all. Peel tries to research Althing on a computer but is blocked. Instead, Allen explains Althing was a super advanced technology of unknown origin that fell to Earth in the middle of the war. It had the power to force all humans to obey its will following a vote, so humanity voted to destroy nuclear weaponry and ban all war. However, this had unintended consequences that Allen refuses to talk about. Murdoch begins to suspect Nana not only wants them to help Licht, she wants them to discover the true origin or Althing and save their future society. This video finishes Season 1 to 12 of this anime recap series, and subscribe to see the upcoming Part 2 of the anime recap series. Thank you for watching.